Alright, hey guys, it's Jack here from Peach Guitars, and today what I wanted to do was offer up a quick overview of Strymon's delay pedal offerings. There's 5 pedals in their range that offer different types of delay. Most people out there will be aware of Strymon's efforts and the great lengths that they go to recreate great tones from vintage pieces of gear and push them into the modern 21st century way of building guitar-related products. But perhaps you haven't seen a video that deconstructs the different ideals behind each of those products. So that's what I wanted to do today. Okay, so I want to start here with the big daddy of all their delay pedals. This is the Timeline. A lot of people out there will be familiar with this pedal. It's been in their stable for quite a few years now, and a lot of people recognize this as very much the state-of-the-art kind of delay pedal on the market when it comes to offering different preset capabilities, totally different delay sounds all in one box, and using digital technology and processing power to absolutely harness the best elements of your guitar tone and squeeze every little drop of tone that they possibly can out of your guitar while offering you all this functionality. So this is absolutely the best, I would say, still at doing that. But it does come with a few compromises. Obviously, it's quite large and it's quite expensive. So there's often the case that people look to this as being the Strymon delay, and you may overlook some of their different offerings in the sense that they may seem a little limited on the surface, but in actual fact I want to kind of make a case here today for some of the single, more compact pedals that they do, and explain to you why they may actually be more beneficial for you to use rather than this absolute behemoth. By the way, all the tones you're going to be hearing in this video are played on an exotic XSC2 guitar plugged into a completely dry and clean Dr. Z Maz 38 amplifier, and all the overdrive tones you're hearing are coming from the J-Rocket, the Dude overdrive pedal on the floor. So a quick overview of the Timeline for anyone who isn't aware. The Timeline, as I said, is basically a greatest hits of all the different delay engines that Strymon have created over the years. You've got many different types of delay that's controlled on this rotary control here. So it will give you everything from digital delays and then digital recreations of analog tape, dual delays, you've got filtered delays, lo-fi, all sorts of stuff going on in this unit. So that's fantastic if you want to sit and basically become inspired with different delay sounds. And the couple of clips you're going to hear in this video where I'm using the Timeline basically exemplify exactly that. That basically you can plug into this pedal, just call up any one of the 200 presets that are available, and you're going to be inspired. Okay, so the next pedal I want to talk about in this range is probably the second most popular delay from Strymon, which is the Capistan Tape Echo. So this is, again, one of the very first kind of iterations of delay pedal that Strymon came out with a few years ago. Most people will be aware of what this pedal does. It's a digital recreation of tape echo. The term tape, though, is kind of bandied around quite loosely nowadays because tape in itself was such a high fidelity way of recording and then repeating delay guitar signal that those old tape machines actually had such a wealth of tones in them. You could go all the way from pristine clean when the tape was new to really quite degraded and distorted and warbly when the tape wore out. So because there's such a wide bandwidth of tape echo tones, there's actually a lot of technology that goes into a deceptively simple pedal. So Strymon really pioneered this very clever way of packing the maximum amount of punch into these small pedals, which is to use secondary functions. You hold down both of the foot switches, and then each of these 5 controls now basically have a secondary function. So there's so much technology going on in here, and yet once you've dialed in your sound, it's completely yours, and it's very reliable, and it's easy to work with in live or recording settings. So actually I find a lot of players tend to gravitate more towards this kind of delay rather than something that's preset based, because it's just so much easier to work with on the fly. So the other very clever thing that Strymon operate is the use of an external favorite foot switch. So with this tape delay, for example, you could plug in an external foot switch and store one preset sound to that. So that might be, for example, a slapback delay. And then you can have a secondary sound that's actually using the controls in real time. So it basically affords you two different presets out of a very small compact pedal like this. So you still get quite a bit of functionality out of these compact pedals, but it's not quite to the same degree as the Timeline will afford you. So another very quick word on what basically sums up tape delay, in my opinion, is it does offer you quite a high fidelity of your signal. So basically the clip you're going to hear, the guitar tone is still paramount, but the delay is quite prevalent as well. And you really hear it in a lot of those classic recordings of guys that were using Echoplex style tape delays in the 70s and through to the 80s. The delay is actually quite a pronounced effect, and it has a lot of life of its own. And I think that this pedal, as opposed to most other tape delays on the market, really captures that. But being a digitally driven pedal, it affords you a whole wealth of flexibility and options that you wouldn't have had over those analog counterparts. So I hope you enjoyed the clip you're going to hear. Okay then, so the Brigadier is Strymon's take on recreating analog style delays, or bucket brigade delays as they're commonly referred to. That's a reference to the type of technology that those analog delay devices used, and obviously this is using completely 100% digital processing to recreate those kind of sounds. This is an often overlooked pedal in Strymon's range, and I do think it's actually one of the very best that they make. It's a lot more simple than the Capistan and some of the other delay offerings that they have, but you can still get quite a wealth of tones out of a pedal like this if you know how to use it. I think a lot of people that understand analog delays will know that they're great for a couple of things primarily. They do a great slapback delay, so you see a lot of analog slapback delays. Because they have limited delay time, they really do that very warm, kind of quick response thing very, very well. This pedal will do that. You can also push the delay time up, and using the onboard modulation, you can really get those nice warm ambient sounds. The best thing about analog delay though for a lot of people is that because it's such a warm sound, it just sits nicely in the background. It doesn't interfere with your guitar tone unless you want it to. And of course, when the time is right, you can ramp up the repeats and get that really cool self-oscillation thing going on. And for a digital pedal, this actually recreates that analog phenomenon very, very well. Obviously, being a Strymon, you've got a couple of other digital mod cons out of this pedal that you wouldn't find in traditional analog pedals, like having a tap tempo, as well as stereo ins and outs on this pedal too. Right then, so the last of the compact series is the DIG, which is the dual digital delay pedal. This is probably the most difficult and complex to get your head around. Digital delay is often used as actually a bit of a negative kind of impact term. A lot of people think of digital in their guitar tone and think of that in a negative way. If it's designed correctly though, like the Strymon stuff is, you get this incredible bandwidth that applies to your guitar tone. So you basically lose no frequencies if you want it that way. And you really hear it in a lot of those kind of 80s and 90s influenced tones. With a clean guitar, the fidelity is so high that basically it can often become a little bit overbearing, but you've got a great mix control here to be able to tame that in case the guitar playing starts to get enveloped by the delay. This being a dual delay though, you have the option to blend in a second delay time on a separate mix control here. So what I wanted to demonstrate with the clip you're going to hear in this video is just how usable and how basically an effect like this can become an entire basis for a song. Obviously, we all know a guitar player that used very famously lots of delays stacked together, and that rhythmic element very much became part of his signature sound. And you do find when you play a unit like this, if you set it in that kind of way, it just completely takes over your playing and informs you in a whole different way than using an analog or a tape delay would. But don't think of a digital delay in a negative sense, because it's still a very, very musical tool if it's done correctly, like the DIG is. Okay then, so lastly I want to talk about the other big name pedal in their range, which is the relatively brand new Volante delay. This came out earlier this year, and it's very much a take on the magnetic echo tape machine still, but a little bit of a slightly different take to the Capistan. Obviously it's a much bigger unit, it's got way more going on in terms of the controls that you've got on there. And I think that this kind of straddles the line between what the compact delays do and what the timeline does. The timeline is basically the king of the delay pedals, and as I said, you've got so many presets and so many different inspirational presets that you've got there right out of the box that you can just sit and get some great musical ideas going. This kind of steps a little bit back because it still has that soul of being a single purpose kind of delay like the other compact ones are. So it's a tape machine recreation, but obviously you've got a lot more control. And I found that what I wanted to do with the clip that I wanted to put in this video was literally just set it pretty much at random, just get a nice delay sound, and then let the delay inform the playing. So, in essence, what I'm trying to convey here is that all these delays do a very similar thing, but in very different ways. And they do actually affect the way you play, I find. If you're actually listening to what the delay is doing to your tone, you can actually take a little bit of that information and apply it to the way you play. So the Volante, I would say, is one of the very, very best inspirational delay machines out there. Obviously, there's a ton of function on board. You can use this with several pieces of outboard gear because it can be run at instrument or line level. You've got the option for MIDI functionality. You've got the option for expression pedal functionality on this too. None of these pedals I wanted to get into that today. I just wanted to show you the core tones, but no, of course, being Strymon products that you can do basically anything you want, and your tone is in safe hands because you've all got the analog dry through, so that on all these pedals your dry tone remains intact no matter how much delay you've got going on. The Volante also has a couple of really cool analog influenced features on here, like sound on sound mode, so it basically becomes an analog style looper. I didn't get into that in this video, but there's plenty of videos out there on the net that detail that kind of thing. That I just think the core delay tone of this thing is quite inspirational to play. Okay guys, so hopefully that provides a little bit of a detailed overview of Strymon's delay pedals. They do so much and they do it all so well, but I hopefully just wanted to clear up a few factors that maybe confuse people about why they would pick one over the other, and why you may not necessarily need all the kitchen sink options that the Timeline will afford you. And I would say that actually in a live or recording situation, one of the compact pedals might actually be the way that you can use delay a little bit more freely. So that's it guys. If you want to find out any more info about any of Strymon's products, you can find it all out at peachguitars.com. Do us a favour, and if you've enjoyed this video, please leave us a like. Comment down below with your thoughts, and I really want to know which of the 5 delays you've heard today was your favourite and why you might pick one for yourself over any of the others. Please remember to hit the subscribe button to the channel too if you haven't done so already. Tap the bell icon so you'll be notified of all the video uploads that we make in the future. But until then, take care, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.